Your turn, Theodore. Name all the things that start with the letter N.
David Seville and the Chipmunks were created in 1958 and were ahead of their time for all the wrong reasons. The characters were first conceived by a man named Ross S. Bagdasarian Sr., the idea simply being a result of personifying his sounds as he experimented with a tape recorder. Using the stage name David Seville, the single Witch Doctor was released to commercial success in 1958. You may recognize the chorus, Ting Tang Walla Walla Bing Bang.
Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting tang, walla walla bing bang. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
The song features Seville talking to a witch doctor. Bagdasarian voices the witch doctor and David, the witch doctor utilizing the comically high-pitched voice portions of the song. The comical high pitch being Bagdasarian's own voice, sung slowly but recorded at half speed, then played back at normal speed, thereby speeding up the voice into a high-pitched squeaky one. This production manipulation tactic was unlike anything anyone had ever heard in 1958. He duetted with himself convincingly because of an unrealistic voice he manipulated through technology. This was followed by another David Seville single titled The Bird on My Head. Another duet, this time the high-pitched voice representing the bird in the single instead of a quirky witch doctor. This seemingly created the idea to personify the high-pitched voice with animals. And what sounds kinda similar to birds, chipmunks, leading to the next David Seville single, The Chipmunk Song, a Christmas song also known as Christmas Don't Be Late. Alvin! Alvin! Okay! The Chipmunks consisting of Alvin, the gangsta, Simon, the killer, and Theodore, the dope dealer. This also established David Seville's epic catchphrase, Alvin! And this gimmick was a smash. I'm not even exaggerating, like legit, Ross Bagdasarian was a pioneer in manipulative vocal sound design. Yeezy's sound design of, quote, chipmunk soul, even taking influence from the Chipmunks. So without that goofy fucker Alvin, Kanye may have never defended Hitler on television. I say a lot of stupid shit, but I'm not exaggerating with that theoretic assumption.
You're not a Nazi, you don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. Hey there, summer boy. I'm taking off my heels. You see, it's funny because my voice is comically high-pitched.
David Seville would remain the character's canonical full name, but would later be simply referred to as Dave later on. Dave would also acquire the role of the pet owner to the rodent trio. Ross S. Bagdasarian Sr. would pass away in 1972. But the Chipmunks wouldn't go anywhere. His son, Ross S. Bagdasarian Jr., would oversee the franchise to this day. In 1983, the brand began using the alias Alvin and the Chipmunks, possibly a reference to the epic catchphrase, Alvin, utilized when Alvin is being an epic prankster gangster. It was a consistently lucrative novelty franchise from about 1959 to 2015. Like, they got everything. Cartoons for your
top 6 worst cartoons.
Comics like Alvin Becomes a War Criminal, and Fine China for your alcoholic grandmother. But in the past decade, society has kind of turned on the Chipmunks.
So, why does everyone want to drown these fuckers in a bucket with their bare hands all of a sudden? Well, simple answer. It got old. Quick.
Say, look at this. I've been cleaning out my nest, and I found an old book of my poetry.
Alvin and the Chipmunk. More like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Alright, so the recession's in full swing, the nut shack is about to drop, white people are drinking beer on their iPhone 1, 2007 was metal as fuck. And the Chipmunks were 48 years old, meaning that your alcoholic grandmother could be nostalgic for them.
Hello!
And take her grandchildren with brain damage to go see them on the big screen. Like any other notable vintage cartoon character then, they got a movie in the 2000s, a live-action movie, because it's cheaper to just have a few CG characters rather than a 2D animated character or everything be animated. It was a genre that was indefinitely conceived out of big brain business move but horrible art projects. I'll be jitterbugged, I've always wanted to see Yogi Bear steal a picnic basket boo-boo as a free shit abomination.
Graham, AMC has cognac now.
I'm nailing his ass to the wall. Be smart, Iris. Get off the boat before we sink him.
So the Gangsta, the Killer, and the Dope Dealer made their self-titled theatrical debut. For the movie, they made the rodent trio all assholes now. The Gangsta is an asshole, the Killer is a nerd asshole, and the Dope Dealer is a fat asshole with the most chromosomes. Alvin's singing voice actor is actually Ross Bagdasarian Jr., but his speaking is Justin Long.
Oh, winter's for losers.
Where is all this coming from? You guys are just kids.
Kids, Dave? Or rats?
The film is a jukebox musical with random songs, because why pay somebody to write songs when you could just pay licensing fees instead? It also tries to be a Christmas movie. I guess it's really desperate for seasonal replay value, but it's more of a movie canonically set in December.
'Cause you had a bad day, you take it one day.
1 minute in, and you already need some AMC cognac. In this movie, Dave is sort of an insert of Ross Bagdasarian being a struggling songwriter, but then he acquires the rodent trio. The villain is played by David Cross, and David Cross is a goddamn national treasure. He actually tried with his performance. It's the only legit positive thing I could say about the movie. Being a sleazy record salesman, I'd say the film is a PG satire of the music industry, but that'd be giving it too much credit, let's be real. He's also the most likely to drown them in a bucket with his bare hands. David Cross is like, Dave, your song is gay and emo, write an actual song like the Nut Shack intro. So Dave's like, oh, how do I replicate Tito Dickman, baby? But he mistakenly brings the Chipmunks into his house, and oh boy, product placement to pay for the entire goddamn budget. Then Dave dies.
$1,900 a hustler, holla at your cat. We got paper towels.
There are multiple instances of the characters watching SpongeBob. It's kind of a running gag. That's just lazily Dick writing SpongeBob in case kids lost their attention. Hey kid, SpongeBob is in this movie, but it's not a crossover. F you, he's just in the background, but he's in this movie. F you, huh? And we just get like an hour of nothing and just back and forth of rodent trio doing dumb shit, and it isn't funny and nothing happens. Simon eats Theodore's sticky little nuggets, really innovative comedy. Fun fact, in the trailer, it's Alvin eating Theodore's sticky little nuggets. That means that there's 2 scenes of chipmunks slurping up ass pudding that had to be rendered for this movie. Dave has a love interest with blonde hair because girl.
Look at Barbie. What a scary bitch.
44 minutes in, and they accomplish Dave's goal of, like, becoming a hit songwriter or something. It's like, the main conflict is resolved. What the f*** is even supposed to happen? It's like they just stapled on another after-school special. They do sing Witch Doctor, which has an epic party remix, because it's a 2000s kids movie. There's a third act breakup, because creative bankruptcy, and they go to live at David Cross's big titty mansion. But then Dave's like, oh no, not having the chipmunks eating their own shit makes me sad.
This is absurd. I feel like P. Diddy with fur.
Then they get back together. The end. There's like a handful of plot points, and each is stretched to maximum capacity, so little actually happens, and it's boring, and when it's not boring, it's just being obnoxious with all the lowbrow crap of the 2000s. That's genre defining for all the wrong reasons. And it made 6 times the budget, and apparently did even better on the DVD resale market. Now, I had cable growing up, on again, off again, depending on where I was living, and I remember these movies being reran all the time, from about the late 2000s as far as like 2016 even. Plus, I'm sure all those plushies made money too.
See? You love it. It's Spanish.
Dude, you could drink beer with your iPhone 1 with an Alvin and the Chipmunks case. Now, considering that the Chipmunks were making hit major motion pictures in the late 2000s, it might have actually been their peak in popularity. I don't know if you can really determine that, but they definitely had a renaissance in the late 2000s. Hell, even I liked the movies. I say movies because it was followed with The Squeakquel.
You see, it's fucking funny because it's a squeakquel and not a sequel, and chipmunks go squeak.
It's been 4 hours now, and I'm just sick of looking at you. You are really one ugly child. And it's really too bad.
Since I can recall the movies being reran on TV a lot, if the telly was like Alvin and the Chipmunks, next on Cartoon Network. I would always wonder which movie it was going to be because I was like 4 when I unironically watched these and I didn't know what a subtitle was. I'd think to myself, is it gonna be the movie where they go to school or the one where they don't? And I couldn't read yet, so I think that could tell you my overall opinion on the Squeakquel now that I can read. Squeak fiction, obviously, but Dave f***ing dies again.
Dave! Look out!
So they can't perform anymore, and they have to go to school and live with some old bitch who could probably use some AMC cognac. And she has a grandson who is an epic gamer who plays Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, on a Nintendo DS. Then the wheelchair-bound senior citizen old maid falls down the stairs, and now I actually remember the scene and nothing else from any of the movies because it's such an odd gag.
Is she gonna be okay?
Don't worry about me. I'll be home in no time.
In you go.
Oh.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Get it? Tobuscus almost killed his grandma. She was gonna die anyway, but whoops. So f it, they have to live with Tobuscus now and chipmunks in high school.
Hey, it's my cat! Hey, remember I was telling you, hey, kitty, it's me!
Toby, you got any more forgive-me pills?
So f it, they're in a high school full of f***ing 40-year-olds as per usual. Girls! Aw, bully. David Cross is actually back, working in the school. Another gimmick of the Squeakquel being the reintroduction of the Chipettes. The Chipettes were characters within the Chipmunk Ensemble that were introduced in the 1983 Alvin and the Chipmunks cartoon series, consisting of Jeanette, the gangster, Brittany, the killer, and Eleanor, the dope dealer. The trio was an excellent attempt at expanding the merchandise, I mean cast diversity, who totally weren't just lazy gender swaps of our main rodent trio. They became staples, and I bet if they actually tried with the previous movie, we wouldn't have to wait for the sequel for the introduction. David Cross manages a bootleg girl group of the Chipmunks. And I have to admit, the Squeakquel actually has an improved plot on the basis that there are more things to do, and it expands on previous continuity, like any sequel should. But at the end of the day, you're still watching the one and only Squeakquel. The Chipettes being influenced by the Chipmunks and joining the person that made them successful, not David Cross. And David Cross's character traits of a sleazy, manipulative record businessman are shockingly consistent. Once again, he's the only likable character, kinda like the guy who played Crocker in the Drake Bell Fairly Odd Parents live-action trilogy. A kid's movie villain that did not need to try but did exceptional. Sports! Talent show! 2000s high school cliche crap, but with CG rodents. Just watch Roderick Rules instead. There's no CG rodents in that, and that's unironically peak. It is still incredibly underdeveloped despite technically having more development. The Chipettes, despite allowing more conflicts and having a more logical narrative setup, are actually barely used. The minimum of potential is wasted. But oh no, David Cross is corn pop and he's a bad dude, and the Rodent Trio Feminist Edition doesn't want to work for him anymore. Theodore is suicidal and runs away in a desperate attempt for a climax.
Oh, Theo, help!
There's also the lamest chase scene of all time. It also has the lamest cameo of all time. The Fox Sports mascot from the late 2000s, remember him? He pops up.
Look out! Whoa! Feels like I'm back at the racetrack.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
The Chipmunks and the Chipettes barely have a rivalry. They rarely see each other prior to the resolution of ditching peak villain. It's better somehow, but it's just boring, obnoxious noise. It's the bare minimum of a sequel improvement I've ever seen, but it is an improvement. It's a smidge better, but not equally as bad. It's weird. The Squeakquel made more money than the previous. So they made their vanilla debut, then they made the woke version. What are they gonna do next?
I'm on a boat! I'm on a boat! Take a good hard look at the motherfucking boat, yeah!
Come on, little boy. Come on, little boy. Come on.
If the title is pun-oriented, there's a very good chance that they came up with the title before they came up with the plot. So, Chipwrecked, generic island survival. I guess that's slightly better than Hotel Transylvania 3, Norm of the North 4, and Alpha and Omega 5 generic vacation type shit.
No. No, 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 no.
At least the movie does build on continuity, once again being the first movie where the Chipmunks and the Chipettes aren't separated. This is actually my first time watching Chipwrecked. It came out when I was 7, and at 7 I was too old for this shit. You know, I could read subtitles then. Just kidding, I'm still illiterate. So, I never saw it. What did I miss out on? Alright, okay, well, one positive of the film is that it at least does try to emotionally develop the family as a family.
What are you guys doing? Help me! Please! Help me save my dad!
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
With Dave allowing more trust to the rodent trio, not babying them to reduce their desire to rebel and misbehave. Simon, the killer, is also openly disagrees with some of his fellow chipmunks' behaviors. So, Simon isn't actually an asshole in this movie. He kind of has a personality. Jeanette actually acts more like the Simon copy-paste that she's supposed to be, so there is some adaptational consistency. It's the bare minimum of character development, a rarity for this series. David Cross is also back working on a cruise ship, once again, best part of the movie. So, 20 minutes of dicking off on a boat later, Dave and the Chipmunks and David Cross are all stranded. Then they meet our girl, who's been stranded for 9 years. And for a homeless person, she's pretty f***ing well bathed and fed. Like, you couldn't just take a shit on her clothes and call it a day, not one scrap of dirt. Dude, they don't even sing
I'm a free bitch, baby
during the Bad Romance cover. So they're stranded on an island, just wasting time dicking off in the woods for an hour, and nothing happens. Chipping off in the woods would be a more accurate title. Simon gets bit by a spider and turns into a French boy, wee, because that hasn't been done 100 fucking times. Then they reunite with Dave and Cross an oh no, volcano that they never established. So they build a boat and they leave. Really interesting third act climax. But oh no, homeless skank is a twist villain, and then she's like, no, I'm okay. 5 minutes later. David Cross sort of has a redemption arc saving Dave from dying again. The end, nothing happens. The first kind of had like a point as a satire. The second expanded upon that. This is just a complete genre change out of creative bankruptcy. It's completely unjustified because it's a pile of chipmunk ass paste. But that didn't matter because it still made money, although not as much as the Squeakquel, although it was the lowest performing yet. So we needed a fourth, obviously. Also never saw this one growing up. The Road Chip was released in 2015. Again, they clearly came up with the title before they came up with the plot. So fuck it, generic road trip. David Cross would not return for the film. He sort of had a redemption arc in the previous, and it's not the most illogical exclusion, but David Cross has openly negatively criticized the movies. Something most actors can't do because that could get you in legal trouble, and he did get in legal trouble. He was fined $150,000 for his extremely based talking. That is one of the coolest things a celebrity has ever done. He described Chipwrecked as literally, without question, the most unpleasant experience I've ever had in my professional life. And I guess that was his breaking point, and he actually tried with his performance, so they couldn't even get the best actor back for the fourth movie. Let's look at some of the marketing. It's funny because that's not the lyrics to Jingle Bells. The lazy toilet humor has always been an issue considering they are eating each other's shit by movie 1. But this one has the most toilet humor yet because it's the most desperate because it's a fourth movie. Audiences are so accustomed to trilogies that a fourth movie is often a red flag. Red Foo, one half of LFMAO, aka Party Rock is in the house tonight, has a self-insert because Party Rock, that's what kids in 2015 give a fuck about. Davey's got a brand new hoochie who has a Midwestern emo son who's mean because black and bass guitar. The plot tries to have a heart since emo son's dad is dead. Yeah, Alvin and the Chipmunks 4 is going to make you cry. The Chipmunks get legally adopted at the end, and it's supposed to be emotional because you're supposed to cry at Alvin and the Chipmunks 4.
Throwing back pink lemonades on Diddy's yacht in San Tropez.
So road trip, going to random locations and around accomplishing nothing. To give Chipwrecked credit, it at least lived up to the title. In this movie, they go on an airplane and go through security, meaning that 9/11 happened in this universe. They travel briefly, they use a taxi briefly, but they don't even get in the damn car, the main concept of the movie, until 57 minutes in. The villain is like a white dude who is clearly supposed to be David Cross working as an air marshal this time, but he was done with his shit, so he's just a lazy copy-paste. The Chipettes' role is also severely reduced, probably for budgeting reasons, since the plot requires way more locations, and they were voiced by Christina Applegate, Anna Faris, and Amy Poehler, which I imagine weren't cheap. Anna Faris was also in Colored Abomination Steals Picnic Baskets, boo-boo.
Kick it, boo-boo.
Kicking it.
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
At least 3 expanded on continuity by having a movie where the 6 chipmunks are allies the entire way through. This just excludes half the team and actually reminds me of Toy Story 4 and Kung Fu Panda 4, also forgetting about the rest of the team. The whole movie is just dicking off in random places that the writers thought were funny with minimal connections. They go to like this ripoff of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I guess they couldn't afford the Fazbear Entertainment license.
It's just a theory.
After the main bullshit conflict is resolved, they have to spend 10 minutes getting back home because it's desperate, everybody's happy, the end.
Alvin!
It is easily the worst of the 4. Like, obviously, it's the 4th movie, but, like, it's barely a road trip. 90 straight minutes of just throwing obvious garbage shit at the walls. And it ends, and it feels like 3 days. The movie was a huge flop, and there's a very easy reason to identify as to why it failed. CG Chipmunks pooping and singing got old. This was the 8th year of Chipmunks. We got a new movie every 2 to 3 years for a period of 8 years, offering the same trash repeatedly. The kids who once laughed at Simon eating Theodore's shit grew up. But easily, the main issue as to why it failed was the release date, December 12th, 2015, which was 6 days before The Force Awakens. And you've got to understand, the grand return of Star Wars was a pop culture moment only rivaled by Avengers Endgame. Disney basically having a theatrical monopoly on the holiday season with their annual Star Wars releases as they were being made. This excludes the stupid-ass Han Solo movie, but that didn't release in December. Releasing Alvin and the Chipmunks 4 like a week before the grand return of Star Wars is legitimately one of the stupidest business decisions in the history of film. Alvin and the Chipmunks 4 versus an entire pillar of pop culture that people were hungry for new content for nearly a decade. This decision killed the theatrical series, but there was another TV show seemingly influenced by their television success of prior decades, before the movies. Titled Alvin and the Chipmunks, referencing Dave's hashtag fucking epic catchphrase. It was CG, and fur is very expensive to render, so the chipmunks look like Justin Bieber monkeys. Like, the internet would have loved this show in 2010, since there's so many Justin Bieber circa 2010 jokes you can make out of the character designs. Alvin got 5 seasons and 259 segments, which adds up to 130 episodes, and I guess it was a hit airing from 2015 to 2023, and it even got to appear in the Nickelodeon Labor Day weekend Whip Nay Nay ad. The show was made in France, so it definitely wasn't a hit in the US considering it ended last year, and as of writing, I've heard nobody talk about it. A kid show with 5 seasons in 2023 is a lot. Most shows in general in recent years, unless you're a huge hit, only get 1-2 seasons maybe. Maybe there was a secret society that continues to watch it. But in 2021, the owners of the Alvin and the Chipmunks IP, Bagdasarian Productions, run by Ross Bagdasarian Jr., put the IP up for sale. And no company has yet to purchase it nearly 3 years later. I bet Mr. Beast could do something funny with it. I don't know, he has money. The creator's son wants to sell his father's creation that he's managed for decades, and nobody wants to buy it. Because these vintage characters somehow hit their peak probably in the late 2000s, and it was ran to the ground and it got old. That getting old, basically killing the entire franchise. They bounced back up higher than ever, but have yet to get back up. And probably for the best, because I don't want to sit through a 5th live-action movie.
Alvin, there's some cheese balls at the bottom of this bucket. Alvin.
Okay, actually, never mind. About 7 days after I recorded this video, they just announced another movie by Disney, meaning that this aged poorly before it was even finished. Boy, I sure hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Alvin! 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 Chipmunk? Where's the S? There's 3 of you.
But Simon says.
Theodore! But Simon says, shut up.
But
Simon, shut up. Alvin, where's the S?
Simon says it fell.
Why didn't you put it back up?
We were busy making the game.
Oh, you mean this disaster? The movie's decent. Has a nice story, few funny gags, a happy ending, and their new look is